Hey, I'm Tanya H. Franklin, and welcome to Tricks My Dog Taught Me, a podcast with some lighthearted and occasional deep conversations with family and friends revolving around my journey as a dog mom to my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle, which prompted me to self-publish my first book, Shit My Dog Taught Me. And I get to share some weekly life lessons through poetry and just journaling as well. And so for today's episode, it's incredibly special for me because I get the chance to talk with a man who wears many hats and somehow makes all of them look effortless. He's a master baker who knows great recipes and knows that they require patience and always brings something really good for the holiday party. He's a photographer, captures some wonderful memories of family and friends and beyond, and he's always the funniest guy in the room and a successful professional social butterfly, and lucky for me, he also happens to be my uncle. So, Uncle David, thank you so much for agreeing to talk with me today.
That's my pleasure, Tanya.
Thank you. Thank you. And so, what I want to do is get into week 27's poem, Move Together. And this is the basis of our conversation. And I feel like it perfectly mirrors someone like you who has mastered multiple crafts, but you've always stayed deeply connected with family and friends. And you move through life with a certain level of grace, which I've always admired. So, I want to start off and share the poem with you and our listeners for some context, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
Move together, one unit, one step at a time. Stop at once the leader motions to yield to authority, who you put your trust in, your life, your faith, and always move together. So, Uncle David, I have to start off by telling you a little secret, though I think you may already know this. You're my favorite uncle.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. But you're also the pillar of the family. And when I think about family dynamics, I would love to know what you believe your role is, the role that you naturally fall in. I'm calling you uncle, but what do you think your role is naturally within the family?
I don't see a role. I think that would be assuming
Hmm.
something. I think it's important to do no harm, not make anything worse than what it is, but
Hmm.
be accepting of everyone for who they are, support them if you can, and try and be kind. Go through life without leaving a mess behind you.
I love that. That's definitely what I try to do. So, which I think it can be tricky sometimes, but I definitely try my best to do that as well. And I mean, I think that our family, we have so many different personalities, but something I love is that we always manage to move together during holidays or milestones, maybe as someone who's graduated or something like that. And so I'm just wondering for you, who in the older generation taught you how to keep connected with family or stay grounded, or even, as you mentioned, about being kind and showing up for each other?
Um, Boy, this is gonna sound this is gonna sound mean. Put it this way: sometimes you can have uh, examples, whether they're mentors, and you go, "Wow, I'm gonna take from that. I'm gonna take from that, and that's how I'm gonna model myself." Sometimes you can have examples that are not good, and go, "Oh, that's not right. I got to remember, don't do this, don't do that." So I think I had a lot of examples of don't do this, don't do that, and where
Mm.
where I've seen things. I tell people who used to work for me, that some of the people who shaped me at work were some of the worst managers you could ever meet. And I learned a lot from them. I learned what not to do. So I had a lot of experience of learning what not to do, or at least in my opinion, what not to do. And that's so, sometimes, and it's bad, you come to a decision point and say, should I say something? Or no, the other person would have said something. No, don't do the opposite. And so
Mhm. That's actually something that I find myself doing often is just trying my best to pivot if I see, and it's not a matter of casting judgment on that
No,
person
no,
necessarily, but just saying, "You know what? I don't like the way they made me feel, or I don't like the way they're making someone else feel, or how they're treating someone. Let me see if
exactly.
there's a different way I can go about doing this." That's one of the reasons I try my best to exercise kindness because I see so many people who don't. And I'm like, "Why?" I mean, I know it can be tough sometimes for people to be kind, but I don't think it's that tough to
It
where
shouldn't be.
you have to purposely be mean to people, you
It
know?
shouldn't be. I think that, you know, I think if you're very self-absorbed, then the world revolves around you, and that's all you see. You don't see other people. And I think when um, I do a lot of volunteer work, you do volunteer work, you mentor, you help others, then you go, wow, I'm leaving something good behind as opposed to, breaking stuff and leaving a mess behind. So it can be hard, especially, if there's a lot of stressors that you're facing. But I think that if you do something long enough, you have the core qualities where you go, wait a minute, let me not react right away. Let me let me take 10 seconds and do some deep breathing.
Yes.
Um, there's someone who I mentored, and I saw her the other day uh, at a wedding, and she was like, "Dave, it's so good to see you." And she's very passionate, and that's a nice way of saying hot-headed, but she's very passionate. But she goes, "Dave, since you've been gone," I retired from my job. She goes, "Dave, since you've been gone, every time I'm about to go off on someone," she goes, "I think, what would Dave tell me to do?"
Mm.
And most of the time, it's like, you know what? Walk away, take some deep breaths for 10 seconds, clear your head, and then do it in a positive way. Respond in a positive.
That's excellent advice, not even just for, the person that you ran into, but for anyone.
Well,
And s Yeah, and something I wanna bring up also in relation to family that you've watched me and, my cousins all grow up from babies to adults, and so you mentioned about mentoring. What's something that you find to be rewarding in being an uncle specifically for our generation?
it's nice to see, and this is, I don't think that had anything to do with it, but it's nice to see where all of the cousins stay in touch with each other, support each other. Um, it's also nice to see, and part of it's you, and part of it's the other younger folks, where uh, they make a point of setting the expectations. I can think of a softer way of putting it, where it's like, hey, we're here to have a good time. We're here to be nice to each other. That's so good to see that, because so often we can get into our own world and think, hey, everything revolves around us, and I see folks younger than me where they want everything right now. There's no, well, I'm going to wait, work my way up. It's like, no, it's got to be instant. So it's nice to see that all the cousins, my son and daughter included, are more giving than self-absorbed, and
I
generally
definitely
trying to be
agree.
nice people.
Mhm. Like last year, I tried to put together a cousin event, and so we all had a great time, and we
Yeah,
went to
I
beat
heard
the
about it.
bomb. And I was telling Alex recently, I said we got to do something else in the very near future because I really enjoyed that, and I think it's important for not even just building those cousin bonds, but just for family in general and being able to have that support system. While there's benefits to social media and texting and things of that nature, and you would think it helps to keep some people in contact more. Some people become more distant because they may just like a post or just shoot a quick text, but they may not see people in person as frequently. And so that's something that I really love being able to do with cousins is to be and family in general, being able to see people in person and have those
Oh,
experiences
yeah.
too.
And you're building great memories for Quinn. Everyone is building them for their own children and laying this planting the seed. So, hey, this is what you should be going through. This is what
Mhm.
you want to enjoy. This is what you want to remember in the years to come and keep these traditions going.
Yes, yes. So I wanna shift gears, and something that I even mention it to my students sometimes, when we're talking about things of the past, like in the '80s, like with Cabbage Patch Kids, and I tell them, I remember when my uncle was in the Air Force and he got us Cabbage Patch Kid dolls because they were sold out in the States. And so I'm thinking about how many years you served in the Air Force, and that it fits perfectly with some of the themes in the poem about precision, synchronization, and trust, and just moving together as a unit under authority. And even though I think you also were sociable and charismatic, I'm just wondering within the Air Force, different places where you were stationed, how do you use your humor to bond with people from different backgrounds? Or maybe it was something other than humor.
No, no, you use the humor where um, I was stationed one place. It just went all over. But for me, it's a thing of when you see someone, you have to make an assessment. And I do this all the time, but I like to think I look at them in a kind way. Where sometimes we go, is this somebody we like or dislike? Is this somebody who we're going to be nice to or not? So I think that it's how you see the person, and people want to live up to those
Mm,
expectations. I'll give you an example of humor. I was in South America, and I think it was in Peru, and we had come into Texas, and the customs and they call them agriculture. People have met the plane, and they go, "You don't have the paperwork. You just came from a country notorious for drugs. We're going to confiscate everything on here." I mean, you can't have that. You have to have your mission continue. So they asked me to come back, and you can figure out, do I want to fuss at this person and tell them what for? Or do I want to appeal to them as a human being? So anyway, they call me, Dave, you got to talk to these guys. They're going to confiscate all our cargo. So I go back and I didn't have a badge on that I was supposed to have had. So I take it out of my pocket and a dollar falls out, a dollar bill. So the guy goes, "Sir, you dropped a dollar." So I go, "Is that my dollar? Or maybe it belonged to you two?" So there was a chance, but they had to laugh because who's going to bribe somebody with 50 cents, a dollar between
mhm.
the two? So they laughed, and then we had that connection right away where I was like, "Hey, look, this is what's going on. We need a break. Here's why. I'd appreciate anything you can do for us." And they said, "That's okay. Don't worry about it. Next time you come back here, just remember that." So
Mhm.
it's how the initial approach, how you go up to somebody. And I see that in the stores. If you wherever you go up to somebody, you can do it in a demanding way, with a Karen or a Ken way, uh, or you could go up to them and sympathize with them or treat them like a human being, and man, you're gonna really go far with that.
Yes.
So that's what I used to do whenever I travel, um, and all the travels. And one of these, I'm going to figure out how many countries I've been to. And I know it's over 50,
Mm.
but in all the countries I've been to, I've never encountered racism. Well, here, but other than
That's what I was gonna say, other than the
every place
United
else,
States.
every place else. I mean, they might not like Americans, but it's not based off of race. They just don't like
Mm,
the American attitude. But I think if as long as you approach somebody with, "I'm not your enemy. I'm not going to have a confrontation with you." If you start off that way, usually you're going to get a good result. Sometimes you don't, and then you have to go to more forceful measures. But it's always best to start off with a soft approach.
yeah, that's so true. As you mentioned in a store, something as simple as saying, "Good morning," and being sincere, not fake about it, but "Good morning, how are you today?" And I sometimes see a person's demeanor shift where they
It
just have
changes.
this solemn look on their face or they're squinting like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Good morning. How are you?" And I wait for their response. I don't just keep saying whatever I'm saying. I wait for their response. And as you said, I treat them as a human being. And a lot of times, not always, a lot of times they'll say, "Oh, I'm doing well," or "Oh, I can't wait to get off the clock." And I'll say, "Well, and I'll ask them, "Well, what time do you
Yeah,
get off work today?"
yeah.
And they'll tell me, and I'm like, "Well, the sun will still be shining. So hopefully you can get out and, take a walk or whatever." And sometimes just having that little encounter, it can help boost a person and make them feel good, especially if there's so many people who may come in contact with them and dehumanize them and not treat them as a person.
I
Mm.
was in Macy's once, and it was the, last Wednesday before Christmas sale, and it's a madhouse in there. So, there was this line, and there are 2 cashiers. They're doing all they could to keep things going, and these 2 women are just they're making a spectacle of themselves. I'm like, "What's taking so long?" And they're just berating these women from a distance. So, I couldn't take it after a while. I did not try the soft approach this way, but I couldn't take it. So I turn around and I say to them, "Hey, look, they're doing the best they can. You know it's gonna be packed. So if you really don't like the line, I suggest you drop your items right here, you get into your cars, and you drive straight back to your trailer park."
What was their response to that?
Well, ordinarily people get mad, but the whole line, including the cashiers, started laughing at them, and their laughter, they just shut up. I guess it's sort of humiliating. But so when I got the cashier, one of them goes, "Oh, thank you for saying something.
Mm,
You have to deal with this all day." But the one where you were saying, when you say just good morning and mean it, I like,
mhm.
and this is always fascinating to see. Like you said, they have this stern look. Oh, they're just getting beat down. And then when you say good morning and you mean it, and they pause, and you could just see the tension go from their face, and they just sort of relax, and they go, "Oh, I'm doing okay." And you
Mhm.
talk to them like a human being. It makes a world of difference. And I used to use that when I traveled. I did that in my other job where I'd have to go see somebody, do an investigation. Maybe they did something where they possibly compromised classified government material. And I'd start off with, "Hi, how are you?" You start off with relaxed, then they relax, and they're going to tell you more. They're going to share a lot more because they're guards now.
I definitely agree with that. And you mentioned being relaxed. Something I'm sure you've experienced as a photographer is making sure the people you're taking pictures are relaxed. And I always love seeing your beautiful posts, not just of people, but of different landscapes too. And so you mentioned about being in the Air Force and traveling to like 50 different countries. Did traveling in the Air Force or even at large change the way that you look at the world? Not even just through the camera lens, but just in general.
Yes. Yes. It makes you see how other people live. It makes you see how, and when I say live, I don't mean like the conditions. It means how they go through life, like in Spain, where they actually go, "No, we're closed. We'll be open in 2 hours," and you have dinner at 9 p.m. It makes you see how other people treat each other, and you can pick up so much of that and adapt it to your own self. Travel to have a better understanding of your own country. Traveling is just an excellent way to do it, because you go to other countries and go, "Well, wait a minute, why don't we have that?" Or you see something, you go, "Ooh, I like that. I think I'm gonna adapt that practice."
That's something I often say is if people were given an opportunity to travel more frequently, perhaps it would lessen the likelihood of people having certain prejudices because they're interacting with people from all over the world and seeing that we're all individuals. And even if you have a negative encounter with one person, that doesn't mean that they represent all of this group of people. So in traveling, you realize, you know what? This is a big world out here. And me
Yep.
just focusing on what I see in front of me, I'm doing a disservice to all of these other people in the world by not being cognizant of all of these different people, cultures, ways of life, and how they operate and move.
Yeah, it's sort of like that phrase, "a big fish in a little pond." If
Yes.
if
Mhm.
I stay in New Jersey, and New Jersey's my whole world, I go to the shore for vacation. I never leave. Maybe I go into Philadelphia once or twice. New Jersey is my whole world. I think that New Jersey is the best ever, and they've got the best of everything because that's all I know.
Mhm.
But then if I go to California, if I go to Spain or United Kingdom, and I see how people, the different cultures, I go, oh, well, maybe I'm not so exceptional. I used to go to Egypt a lot, Cairo. You go there to a country where they have 5,000 year history, and you realize, wait a minute, this isn't so. We're 250 years. We're kind of new here. Other countries have
Mhm.
been dealing with a lot of the stuff that we deal with here. They've been dealing with that for a long time, and they've gotten through it.
Yes, yes, and I mean, speaking of a long time, with all of the years that you've been in the service, that means in traveling to all these different countries, that there were often times when you may have been away from families. How did you manage to keep the people you loved moving together with you, even when you were thousands of miles apart?
Um, Back then, when you're away, you could long distance, but but and you can see I'm passionate about this. When I would come back, and there were times even with you guys, when I was home, and I made the most of every minute, so that instead of going, well, yeah, I'm back, I'll see you guys whenever. It's like, hey, I'm back for 3 days. I'm home for 3 days. Let's go out and have a ball. Let's go out and have a blast. Let's make memories while you have that time. And I think you make the most of the time that you have, and you appreciate those people right then and there. Then that stayed with me. So that instead of going, I'll get around to give you a hug later, or I'll do something nice for you later on. Well, you do it then. Do it while you're thinking about it, because you don't know how long you're going to be around or how long they're going to be around. And I think that means a lot, because it sort of like pays into something. You're laying a lot of groundwork where you're making that person. It's not like, oh, well, what, I got a hug once. No, it's like, you have things often. And that's important, especially as you get older and you look back and you go, wow, I had all these wonderful things happen, or I had, this. So I think that is so important. And again, my examples were the opposite. So that helps me decide this is what I want to do.
Just you bringing that up, I just want to share with you that I most recently went to Hershey Park and I was sharing with Quinn. I remember when you would take me and the cousins and we would all go to an amusement park, or I remember one time a magic show or the zoo or something. And all of those memories, they stay with me. And I was excited like it just happened. I'm telling her, I remember when. And it's not even just so much about taking us places, but
No, it's a
those
time.
memories and
Yep.
having a good time and having that bond, because I think it then shows, oh, wow, I'm actually cared about. And you thought enough of me to include me during your downtime when you only got a couple of days. So definitely. I want to talk about your passions. You have so many passions, and my poem talks about moving together as a unit, one step at a time. And one of your passions is, or at least I believe it is baking and cooking, because you're just really awesome at it. And so I'm just wondering, what's one baking or cooking rule that you absolutely never break? And maybe what's one that you say, I'm willing to bend on this? And it's going to be literal or figurative.
Again, you can apply this to life. You put in the best ingredients that you possibly can. You try not to substitute anything. And if you put the best that you can and you take the time and you make it the best that you possibly can make it, then it's going to be good. That applies to anything in life. You put in the best, you don't phone it in. There's nothing wrong with this, but you don't take shortcuts. If you can put in that extra time, put in that extra time because then you're gonna really reap the rewards from it. Again, it's you can apply that to life, but, for, yeah, cooking or any hobby for that matter, before, if I'm gonna shoot somebody, take their pictures, if I'm doing a portrait of someone, before I pick up my camera, I know how the picture's gonna look. I'll write out things, I'll draw diagrams, I'll have all my settings, and I put in that extra time so that when I've got the person in front of me, all I have to do is make them comfortable. I don't have to worry about the technical part. So by putting in that extra time, that planning ahead, and I know you're a big planner, but
Yes.
that planning ahead really is just, I mean, that's what it's all about. Planning ahead and using the best that you possibly can.
And I love both pieces of advice, especially as you said it pertains to life. I have encountered people where when they see someone else who's locked in that way, and they see someone who is saying, I'm going to try my best and I'm going to use the best and I'm going to plan, sometimes people are intimidated, and I've had where places where I've worked or people who I've encountered, and they'll say, "Why are you trying to show us all up?" And I'm like, "I'm just this has nothing to do with you. This is me
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I have certain standards for myself, and not that they don't have those same standards,
yeah.
but
But
this
it's
has nothing to do with
it's
them."
something you have to live up to, right?
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
and and um, I had a manager once, senior manager, and he pulled me aside and he goes, "Dave, do you have to wear a tie and sport coat every day?" So I go, "Well, no, I don't. I enjoy that, and I want to make an impression because I never know who I'm going to be talking to. I could be talking to,
Mhm.
some senior leadership person, or it could be talking to anyone, and this is comfortable for me." And then he said, "Well, people will look up and say, well, they have to meet that expectation that they have to do the same thing." So my initial response, well, that's not so bad. If they hold themselves to a higher standard. But the point he wanted to make was that people who don't hold themselves to standards, whatever that might be, sometimes they'll feel bad about it. And like the example you gave, I don't think you do it to make other people feel bad. You do it to make
Mhm.
yourself feel good, knowing that you've done the best that you can, whether it's for your family, students, friends, whoever.
Exactly, exactly. And not only that, because as you said, family, friends, students, and for me, it's I want to set an example. But if I'm expecting Quinn to put forth her best effort and I don't, well, is that fair to have that expectation put on her? Or same with my students, if I'm telling my students that I have certain expectations of them, and yet I'm cutting corners and I'm not putting forth my best effort. I don't think that's fair to ask that of someone, and I don't do that myself.
Yeah, you have to. We all hold ourselves to standards, and sometimes I know, especially when I cook or even photography, those standards can be a little nuts. I know that. I know those standards can be nuts, and there are times where it's like, I don't mind putting that time in if I'm gonna make breakfast. That means instead of just having bacon, no, it means that I've cured my own bacon. I took pork belly in 10 days, cured it, and then smoked it. I know that might be a little bit overboard, but that makes me feel good. It's not to make anyone else feel bad. It just makes me feel good knowing that I've done it this level. And even when it comes to work, knowing that I've held the standard so that that person, when they receive that work, whether it's back when I did cybersecurity or photography, they know that they're going to get something that is just above what they expected. And I think that's so important, even if you don't even see them again. It's just walking away knowing that you did the best you could.
Yes, and I feel like for me, it shows a level of respect to that person and not just for myself, but also that I care enough to put in the effort. You can tell when someone half heartedly does something for you, and then you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe you ought not have done this at all if you're not going to put forth. I'm not saying that they have to be at the level where because I'm a little nuts with that too. And I'm sure you've seen some of my fitness posts. And my best friend, who I've been going to the gym with her
Saw you
occasionally.
encouraging her,
Yeah.
yeah.
And she'll be like, no one's doing this crazy stuff like you, Tanya, only you and a few other people. And I said, you don't have to do what I'm doing. But at the same time, I want you to not sell yourself short. And I think that you can do even better than you think you can. And she'll say, you know what, you're right. And so there's certain tasks where she'll say at first, like, oh, I don't think I want to do this. And then after she does it, and she says, I'm glad that you saw what I was capable of doing. And I think a lot of times that's what I'm hoping people will get is when I'm going the extra mile, when I'm putting forth my best effort, that it's not just about me trying to showboat, but it's about me saying, I know that you have something within you. And it doesn't have to be the same skill set or anything, but you have something within you. And I know that you can put forth that effort as
You
well.
you push this. I used to do, teach report writing for my folks. In fact, I saw a guy at that wedding, this guy Rashid, and he was telling me, "Yeah, Dave, when we first met, I didn't care for the way you pushed me." Uh, because he would give me something that he had written, and I would say, "You know what? I remember this, English professor I once had who told me that anything that you write, if you don't write it again, that's a draft." And I used to tell my folks, "Don't give me drafts. Don't give me first drafts. Give me at least a second draft. Rewrite it." So when I saw him, he's going, "Yeah, I didn't like that." So I said, "Well, where did it eventually get you?" He goes, "Well, because of the level he's performing, I sent it to another site. They hired him at a higher level, and because his writing skills, the ones that he fought, his writing skills were so good, his manager had him teach all of his peers how to write." I'm like, "Well, how'd that make you feel?" He goes, "Yeah, it felt pretty good." So he went from mixing tenses and writing um, the way one would speak to teaching his peers how to write.
Mm. That had to
And
feel good.
yeah, I was a little proud about that. But he was like, "Yeah, I could see why you pushed me to do that." And I said, "I only push people who don't realize they have that potential in them, because a lot, maybe they didn't hear that they had that potential. Maybe
Yes.
that maybe that they just go, this is good enough, or no one's ever asked them to do one, and they see what other people are doing, and they go, ah, I'm hanging with everyone else." But it's like, but what if you could do even better? What if you can surpass your normal? I think that's important. Believe it or not, everything that I make, everything that I cook, every picture I take, I try not to replicate it. I try and go, can I do it better?
Mm.
How can I improve upon this? Maybe I can't improve upon the the taste, but maybe the presentation, maybe the amount of time that it takes me to put it together. How can I make it better?
I'm always doing that where the idea of I want to be, even if it's just 1% better of what I
Yes,
was at something,
yes,
so I can
yes.
I
I
can
mean,
grow.
yeah. Do you ever do lean thinking or Six Sigma? Simply put, it's a process they do it in manufacturing and other things where they say, okay, how do you do whatever steps? How do you do whatever it is you're doing? And you go, okay, well, I do all these different steps, and sometimes I get a good result, sometimes it isn't. So then the goal is to re- pull out steps that are necessary to get to the point that you want to be, which is 99.96% accurate, and be able to repeat that over and
Mm.
over and over. So that, say, if you do, sometimes somebody will do something and it's like a fluke. One day they do it and I don't know how I did it. It just happened. But for me, the goal is to not just, it just happened, but to understand what I've done so I can replicate that each time, come up with the same thing each time, or maybe a little
I
bit
love
better.
that. I love that. I just didn't know there was a name for it, but I always ask questions whenever I'm learning how to do something, whether it is baking for me or something that's fitness related or teaching. I'm always asking questions and trying to get better at it. And not only that, but when I do have those moments where I'm like, I don't know how I did that, to go back and think about the steps in the process. But you mentioned photography a few times. So I'm just wondering if you could have a canvas print of a single memory from your 20s or 30s hanging in your living room, what would that be a photo of? And if
Boy,
it's more than one memory, that's fine.
that's a tough one. My 30s would be, when Alex was born. That was an
Mhm.
important. Um, I'll tell you what. One thing that in all the years that I used to travel, and I mean, I'd see some incredible sights. I mean, before they moved the Cairo Museum, I'm in the Cairo Museum playing with King Tut's Tutankhamun's death mask because they didn't have anything sealed. I'm like picking it up. Hey, you know, a guard came over. But so I had a lot of great experiences. But there's one thing, and this would happen maybe twice a year, 2, 3 times a year, and it changed my whole outlook. Um, and that would be you'd be taking off. It'd be gloomy. Just rain's coming down, cats and dogs. It's just like just yucky. And we take off, and as you climb through the clouds, through the rain clouds, all of a sudden just be sun, bright sun. And it was like, oh, it's one of those things where, it puts it in perspective. It can seem pretty miserable at that moment, but all you have to do is just go a little further and then it gets so much better. So whenever that would happen, I just go, wow, this is beautiful. Just just beautiful. So that's one of the things I think that would stay with me where you go and you're looking down, maybe looking down at the rain clouds. You see them all black or dark gray below you, but then the sun would be just above it. And it was like, oh, this is what life's all about.
That sounds so beautiful. I mean, the closest I've ever come to that is when the sun is shining, yet it's raining.
Yeah,
But
like in
that
Florida. Yeah, yeah.
yes. I think that that is life, where sometimes we may have dark moments and it seems like it's never going to stop raining. Yet, as you mentioned, if we go a little bit further, if we keep moving, eventually we will get to that sunshine and those beautiful moments in life. And there will be times where there's clouds, where it's darkness, but such is life, and we navigate through it in the hope, at least for me, the hope is that we'll have more sunshine than clouds and rain, but knowing that we need the rain and the clouds to appreciate the sunshine.
There's a Lebanese philosopher and poet and heretic, Khalil Gibran. And in one of his books, he wrote, in order to appreciate the light, you must first experience the darkness. And that to me is something where, when you're like, oh, woe is me, this is just a mess, you can live through, you'll get through that. But then when you get through it, then those quiet times, those joyful times, then you really want to appreciate those. You want to make the most of those.
Definitely. And I mean, so I want to fast forward a little bit. Now you're in your 60s. So I mentioned the picture from your 20s, 30s. So when you look back on those moments, what's something that you realize you put a lot of energy into? Maybe you were a little bit worried or concerned about it. And now you're looking back and saying, I shouldn't have put so much energy in worrying about that.
I, I don't think I ever kind of go, yeah, yeah, it's all, I don't know. It's just how I am. I don't think I ever can go, yeah, everything's, yeah, I can go, okay, well, it's not, it's okay. Um, and in fact, I even have pictures. This might sound a little obsessive. I have pictures that I took 30, 40 years ago. I will go back to them, see if how can I improve them. But but to answer your question, I'd say would be with my son and daughter. Because you're always worried. Are they okay? Are you doing everything that you should do? Are they growing up on a healthy environment? Or do they feel loved? Uh, and so I probably spent a lot of time worrying about that when, I really didn't need to. But you don't want to go, oh yeah, I'm sure it'll work out fine, and then it doesn't. So you worry. You can't go up to them and go, hey, don't do this. But you have to kind of think you're being cool about it. Hey, well, think about this. When inside your head, you're like, don't do it, don't do it.
Yes.
But you can't say that. So, in fact, the other day, Alex and I were having a conversation about, yeah, Dad, how he turned out, and my thoughts at the time, and he could see where I was headed. But my goal was not to be so rigid. I think I see some other cultures do this where the children don't have a choice of what they're going to do, what they're going to be. But I think that when you're that strict, I think that can build resentment. There are points where you go, I'm sure it's going to be okay. You're going to get this probably with Quinn one day when she
Hmm.
starts driving, where instead of looking out the window, thinking, watch out for this car, watch out, that sort of thing. You just look out the side window and you go, I've got to trust them. They have the tools. I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Yes. Yes.
So I look for moments where I'm looking out that side window and thinking they're going to be fine. They have everything. I can't hover or anything like that. But that's what I look back and I spent a lot of concern and worry, and are they going to be well adjusted, and all the things that we need to be as functioning human beings, if they're going to have that.
Hmm.
So I look back and I go, okay, well, maybe I didn't need to worry, or maybe the worry helped.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that I look back on. And I'm totally thrilled with the boat they came out. So
Yes, 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 and I think that's a legitimate concern. I definitely have my concerns as well for Quinn, and I try my best to not use a total hands-off approach necessarily, but to give her opportunities to make certain decisions for herself and to have her talk it through with me. And there's moments where I might want to tell her what I think or or I'll just share my experience, and I'll always preface it and say, this may not be your experience, but this is what happened to me. And I always will tell her, we're not the same person. I'm not saying that. But in case this situation should present itself, I would love to know what you would do in that instance. And so she'll share with me. And even with her doing something as simple as track, and I say simple, but to me, I made it complex where when she started doing hurdles and I'm in my head, I never told her, I'm so nervous. You're doing these hurdles. What if you fall and this and that? And and my mom, she noticed when she would come to a few of the track meets, she says, you're cheering really loudly when she's doing the relays or she's doing just a regular race, but with the hurdles, you just kind of stand there and watch. And I'm
and
like,
yet,
I feel like if I scream out her name, she might get startled or so.
and you're hoping that your face doesn't show what you're really
Yes,
thinking. Like
exactly. So I
you're like
had this
you're
look,
like
just this
you're like
fake
keep it
smile,
together.
like,
Yeah, you're like keep it together. It's gonna be okay. Just keep it together.
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just because you see them when they're doing something. You know, when my son used to fence, and I'd see it was very aggressive sport, and I'd see these kids going at each other. I mean, just violent, and and sometimes he'd show me welts that he had, and then
Mm.
later on with Cameron on horses, here she is, just a tiny little nugget, and she's jumping, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Where you because you think that if if they see you're worried, then they're going to get worried.
Yes.
So you're like, okay, how do I look? Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm cool. I'm cool. It's all right. Yeah. So that can be tough though, because you are concerned. Um, but then I think that the older they get, like I said, I look out. I tell myself, "Well, look out that side window. They have the tools. They're going to be okay. And if something happens, you get through it."
That's what I certainly try to remind myself of with Quinn, and especially since she just entered teenagehood, so I know that I'm going to have a lot going on in these next few years with her and throughout life, but certainly these next few years with a lot of changes that she'll be going through. And just even with changes, I want to bring up a change that you actually mentioned, which is most recently being retired. And so, what's the next step or chapter for you? Are you going to do something with learning, more photography, creating, baking, something else?
I've been doing I've been doing photography, so I get calls where I'll do clients, which is I'm not complaining, but it's different than when I used to shoot people. Because the difference being, I they'll say this is what I want, and I go okay. Well, hey, maybe you would like to see my input. I could suggest something else, and I go, no, this is what I want, and I go okay because I remember they're a client. They're paying me to do this, so I'm going to deliver the best I can. So I'm doing that. I've been cooking, I don't know how many times a week. In fact, we have family dinner once a week. We all get together. Alex started that years ago, and I think it's a good tradition where we all get together and eat once a week. And they told me, since I'm retired, I've been cooking a lot, and I tend to make rich foods because that's what they like. And they're like, "Yeah, you make the food you're making. It's good. I do a lot of French cooking." And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I can do Mediterranean. I can do, more grilled stuff and stuff like that. And then I want to travel a little bit more. And I went to Nashville in January, and then recently out to Utah. Why Utah? Utah in May. So I want to travel some more. You know.
Nice. Oh, that's great that you're actually getting out there because I know sometimes what happens is people retire and that's fine if they just want to relax and not do anything. Maybe that's what they enjoy doing, but I couldn't see you just saying, I just want to sit at home in my
Oh
rocking
no.
chair.
No. You know what they say, you move it or you know what? Not that I'm worried about this. This used to happen when I flew. It's kind of morbid. Um, but it happens a lot of the times to people in the military. So my job was stressful, and what happens is there were people who were retired, and then within a week or two or a couple of months, they had passed away because they
Mm.
didn't have that stress. They weren't pushing themselves. They weren't still moving. And and I think that when you kinda give up, to me, that's giving up. When you just kinda sit and go, "I'm good. This is it for me." I think you're giving up on so much more, if you're able, if you're active, able-bodied, keep doing the things. Find new things that you wanna do. I do have one regret. I keep saying, "Okay, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it." I haven't done as much volunteer work as I used to.
Mhm.
And I think that's important to do volunteer work and drag either Alex or Cameron with me. Come on, they're going to the food bank.
It's
Yeah.
funny you bring up the food bank as an example because I remember in volunteering there, I made it in my head a competition when because they would the one that
Yes.
I helped with was where they would put stuff
You're
on a
packing.
conveyor belt. Yes, and you're
Yes.
packing, and I
Yes.
was how many can I get done?
Yes. See, and that's where
And
that
I look at
Six
my
Sigma.
watch, put a time. I'm like,
That's where
I'm
that
going to get
six. Yeah, that's where that Six Sigma, that lean thinking, where you go, okay, if I order it this, if I place it in this order,
exactly.
I
I
can get it faster.
strategize.
Let me see if I move this a fraction of an inch more. And you're only competing with yourself, but
Yes.
it's fun. It's fun. I don't play video games anymore, but when I was telling Cameron, when I used to play video games, I would get through whatever trap or puzzle, get to whatever point, and it was like, whew, it took me 2 minutes. Let's see if I can do it in a minute and a half.
Yes, yes.
And you try and do it faster. It's just something I think that's self-satisfying. It's not for anyone else. It's just something that makes you feel good.
Mhm. Yes, and we were both talking about, like, packing up things. I'm just wondering in terms of a package for a recipe for a good life, and you actually touched on a little bit of this already, but if it's our family or just the next generation, what are the ingredients that we need to just keep moving together and keep moving forward in life?
Um, I think one thing that's important is to not be predisposed to what the outcome's going to be. You can hope what the outcome's going to be, but you don't have to be stuck with that because things change. I think another is to, whether it's friends or family, even sometimes strangers, to not think of those people as adversaries or enemies or anything like that, but to think of them like we were talking earlier, where you approach someone like, hey, with kindness, they're going to be on your side. Those are going to be a whole new set of friends and people you can reach out to later. Um, so I think is to approach people with kindness, to not prejudge, and that's really tough not to do.
Mhm.
But to not prejudge, and then if you do something, you do because you want to do it, not because you expect anything from it. And I'm sure you've probably done this. I get a kick out of doing anonymous things.
Yes.
Yeah. You're planting seeds. You're like planting seeds for like, ooh, I wonder how that's going to come out
S
in the future. And and sometimes you get to see it, and the person usually they're thrilled, and it could be the simplest thing that you've done, and they're just thrilled that, oh, you thought of it,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know?
so I've done this a few times, especially before the days of a lot of coupons being electronic. I
Hmm.
would have an extra coupon of something that I got, or I would print out an extra one. I do a lot of crafting, and it's not so much printing out, people do electronically, but I would print out an extra coupon and just leave it in a random place, or I would leave it near the counter where the person's going to be checking out, and it would be 20% off their entire purchase, 30% off their entire purchase. I don't know who picked it up, but I just thought to myself, wow, this is great. Or I remember one time when we were going to Outback Steakhouse as a family, and there was a coupon that was about to expire, and we had two of them, and I said, I'll bring the other one with me, and I'll look for a family to give it to. And what I thought was so interesting is a lot of people are taken off guard if you try to do something nice, or like, what do you want from me? And what was interesting to me is that the woman, she was more approachable than the man was. Like, he gave me this look like, "What do you want? What are you selling?" And so I said, "Oh, it's just an extra coupon. I don't want anything." I said, "I just wanted to know if you all would like the extra coupon because it's expiring in a few days, and we're not gonna be back here in a few days." And the lady's like, "Yes, we'll take it. Thank you." And she just and then she came back over, like, and she's like, "That saved us, like, $20 on our bill." And I'm like, "Awesome." And I even do that at the gym. Every once in a while, I'll post about the mess that people leave behind in the gym. But what a lot of people are not aware of is just about every day that I go in there, there's a lot to clean up. I don't post about it every single time I do it. And so when I clean up, sometimes it takes me 15, 20 minutes or so. And then I'll see someone in the section where I cleaned up. And I don't go over and say, "Hey, I cleaned that up for you." It just puts a smile. I'm like, "Oh, they didn't have to worry about
Yeah,
cleaning any of that up. They were able to get right to their
it's like
workout." And it makes me feel good.
you're spreading positivity out throughout the world. Hey, let me ask you this then: has anyone ever done that to you, where it's caught you off guard,
You know,
where you're just going along with your day, and then out of nowhere, bam, here's something really nice. Maybe you were having a good day, Has anyone ever caught you off guard like that? I'm talking to a stranger.
A stranger. I will say something which is may not seem significant, but it certainly can be when it's during rush hour traffic and a person lets me in when I'm driving. And that might not seem like a big deal, but
Oh,
it
no,
is
no,
when there's
it's
a
a big
lot of
deal.
traffic and this is a stranger who's like, "You know what? I'm
It's a
gonna
big
let you
deal.
get in."
And usually I'm like waving a couple of times. So I think, I'll tell you what. So I'm usually the one who's doing stuff just randomly and putting it out there. Hey, I saw you needed this. Here you go. Or I used to buy. They don't sell them anymore. I buy umbrellas from from the dollar store, and I'd have a bunch of umbrellas in my car, and I'd see. Yeah, you know where this is going. I'd see. Hey, here it's raining. Take this. And it catches them off guard. Well, a few months ago, this UPS driver knocks on my door. And I'm thinking, okay, I wasn't expecting delivery. And a guy goes, "Hey, I thought you might like this." And it was a Hot Wheels car. He goes, I've got a '68 Buick Riviera. It's a Hot Wheels car that in the same
That's
color.
so cool. That's
And
so cool.
he goes, "I see your car all the time, and I bought this for you. I thought you might like it." I felt so bad because I was speechless, literally speechless. I was like, I'm just stunned. And then he walked off, and I don't even think I said thank you. I was just so taken aback. It was
Mm,
just so overwhelming. Since then, I've been trying to find him. I've gone to the UPS store. I've seen other drivers, just to say thank you and to give him a tip because, he didn't have to do that. But
mhm.
it's really weird when it happens the other way around. It rarely ever happens. It's more fun when you're doing it and you're catching somebody off
Yes.
guard.
Yes, yes. That's awesome, though. I hope that you, contact him or find him, and I'm sure that
I've got his
he knows
name.
that you're appreciative.
Yeah, I was stunned. I mean, I was stunned to get a little of the same color of my car. And you don't see those out on the road or anything. But the thought that he took the time to find it and then to drop it off just to say, just cause, here you go. Thought you might
Mhm.
like this. It
That's so
just,
nice.
yeah. I felt bad though. I just stood there. I couldn't even speak. I was just like, just so touched. So since then, every time I see the UPS truck in the neighborhood, hey, no, it's not Cody. Tell Cody I'm looking for him. I'm the guy with the Buick. I got to say thank you properly, you know?
Mhm. Mhm. That's nice, though. That's so nice. So but before we wrap up, I do have one last question for fun. If you were a dog, what breed would you be and why?
Probably a German Shepherd. They're very protective of their family. They're kind of smart, not the smartest dogs in the world, but kind of smart. They have to have a sense of purpose, and they can do it without anyone else motivating them. Um, and sometimes they can look mean, but they really aren't. So probably a German Shepherd.
It's nice. Now, what dog breed do you think I would be and why?
Oh, that's an easy one. Poodle, poodle, and it's got nothing to do with Zach. It's got nothing to do. No, no. Uh, they're one of the smartest breeds. You know, they're driven. They need to have stuff to do. Uh, they can be relaxed and kind of like family, or they can be very athletic and need to have. They can have a lot of energy. Um, and they can be independent. You know, but they do attach. They do bond for life with their family.
I love
So yeah.
that. I love that. A lot of people have either said a golden retriever or a poodle. I did get one German Shepherd.
I wouldn't go with a golden retriever. Um, because they can be golden retrievers don't have that high energy level. They're like, hey, I'm hanging out. So, but that's why I'm thinking of poodle, something with high energy level. Um, get along with just about anybody. Um, and also very very smart. Of course, they aren't the smartest dog. The what's the smartest one? The shepherd. It's a shepherd.
The
Border
border
collie. That's
collie.
border collie. Border
Mm-hmm.
collie is the smartest. That's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but with them, it's different. I think not. I think the border collies are driven by prey instinct, where poodles aren't driven by prey instinct. They're just puzzle solvers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll take it. Thank you. But Uncle David, thank you so much. Just listening to you today, it proves what I already knew, that you are just a breath of fresh air, and it's
Thank
like
you.
your life itself is a kind of poetry in motion. And so I just thank you for just showing not just me but our audience how to be successful with laughter, and to trust the process on our journeys, and to just simply move together.
Yeah. It it amazes me uh, for anyone to write a book, the time that it takes, writing rewrites, looking at the content, and just having that much to say is it. I'm in awe of it. There's a few things I could pretend to do, but and writing a book certainly would not be one of them. So,
Mm.
congrats with that.
Thank you
For
so
you to
much. I
be able to publish.
appreciate that. Thank you. And to our listeners, remember that we don't have to figure it all out at once, and that we can, just like the poem says, take it one step at a time, trust the process, and move together. And if my podcast has moved you, please be sure to share it with your friends and family, and follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at Tricks My Dog Taught Me. Until next time, when I get into week 28's poem, Be Vulnerable, here's a lesson from my little guy, Zach the Toy Poodle. We all have individual uniqueness, but never forget the incredible power of having a core unit making strides together. Take care, and I will see you next week.